Greetings, everyone. I'm your host, Chris Garris, joined today by my co host, Allison Leach Hyde, and welcome to the Transporter Room. We're absolutely thrilled to introduce the extraordinary Dr. Mohamed Noor. Dr. Noor is a professor of biology and executive vice provost at Duke University, where his groundbreaking research focuses on evolutionary genetics, particularly exploring what genetic changes contribute to the formation of new species. He's also an award winning educator known for making complex scientific concepts accessible and engaging. What makes Dr. Noor truly unique and especially exciting for us is his deep passion for and contributions to the Star Trek franchise. A lifelong Trekkie, he serves as an occasional science consultant for the Star Trek universe, notably for shows like Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Prodigy, and now Star Trek Strange New Worlds, helping to ensure scientific plausibility within the narratives. He has also authored the book Live Long and Evolve, what Star Trek can teach us about evolution, genetics, and life on other worlds. We're especially excited to dive into his fascinating blend of cutting edge scientific research and his unique role in shaping the science of Star Trek. His ability to bridge the gap between academic rigor and pop culture fandom has made him a cherished figure in both the scientific and fan communities. Now, let's beam in Dr. Mohamed Noor.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for a very kind introduction. It's great to see you both.
You too. So great to see you. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I know we've been, doing the schedule, dance, but we got it. And
Yes.
that's what I'm happy about.
Thank you
Um,
for finding the time to speak with us. I'm so excited, Mohammed.
Oh, thank you, Allison. Thank you for having me to it. And yeah, sorry it took a while. We had to wait till it was
oh,
far enough outside the semester that things slightly slowed down.
oh, totally understandable. I believe me, I get it. I work for a school district K-12, so not quite as crazy as yours, but still pretty nuts.
Different kind of crazy.
Yes, exactly. Um, so, we kind of like to start with background here at first. And, a lot of times we hear quite often that, Star Trek is what leads someone to become a scientist. Was that true for you? And what helped you to decide to study biology?
I would say in my case, again, thank you for having me. I would say for me, Star Trek and science kind of reinforced each other. I wouldn't say that one caused the other. So I mean, even as a little kid, I always loved science, and I think I saw my first Star Trek episode probably when I was about age 8 or so, something like that. And this was original series in reruns. I wasn't alive when the original series aired, but watching it in reruns, I remember watching it and just being fascinated with it. And I love the discovery elements to it and the integration with science. So I think those were self-reinforcing. And then when Next Generation came out, I think it started when I was about a senior in high school or something like that. I watched everything from there on continuously as they aired, and I would of course talk with, say, my professors about things in Star Trek Next Generation, like, "Did you see blah blah blah? Can you believe that?" And then we'd nitpick things together or have fun talking about some of the science that they did, or sometimes even just something they got really 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 right in a big way that was really fun. Like, oh my gosh, that was a great representation of Muller's ratchet or some scientific concept.
Very cool.
Yeah,
So, my question
sure.
about you is, did you always want to be a teacher? Because I know with the sciences, there's so many different ways to explore your science. There's pure research, there's academia, there's medicine. I mean, you're in biology. So, did you always want to be a teacher?
I did
And
not.
well, how did that come about then?
Well, the era when I went to graduate school was 1992 to 1996, and the field, as Chris mentioned, the field I went into is evolutionary genetics. It wasn't so obvious what one could do in evolutionary genetics at the time. I mean, today there's a whole bunch of options that are very clear. At the time, it wasn't so obvious what you would do except going into academia. So I went into it, and I always enjoyed teaching, like as a teaching assistant, for example, in graduate school. But that wasn't what drew me in there. But honestly, when I started teaching actual classes, loved that from the beginning. So that was always fun. I mean, I love people. I love talking with people. I love chatting about science, and especially with other people who are smarter than me. Honestly, some of the students I see in there are they're much smart. Like, I would never have gotten into Duke University as an undergrad. Let me be clear. We have like a 5% acceptance rate. That would not have been me. So these people, like, they're brilliant. And actually, I didn't even get my start at Duke. I got my start at LSU in Baton Rouge, which had, a somewhat more generous acceptance rate. But even still, they were really, really smart kids coming in, excited about science and wanting to talk about it. So what could be more fun?
Yes. All the scientists that I'm personally exposed to, and I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, so Lanel is right there, are, I mean, amazingly brilliant and so personable and wanna talk to you about what they do in a way you understand, and that is so great. 'Cause I know sometimes that's not how it can feel like when people have such experience and knowledge about something. So to be able to bring it to the masses like you do is so wonderful. So
Oh, you're very
Yeah.
kind. Thank you. I love talking science with you too. We've done it before.
And I'm looking forward to doing that hopefully this next month in August or almost next month. Um, but yeah, and so I know did you, I think science runs in your family from what I've researched and looked at your history and stuff. So what else is it done in your family, like your father and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, so my father was an aerospace engineer. He's retired now, but he was an aerospace engineer, and he taught classes as well and things like that too. So it's always fun to compare notes about things from completely different fields in STEM, still nonetheless. My grandfather, actually, on my mom's side, was a biologist. So yay, more biology in there too. He actually, I think he even became like undersecretary of education in Egypt at the peak of his career. And then I think my father's father, I believe, was also an engineer. So there's a lot of engineers there. So my mom actually got a degree in engineering, but she stopped working around the time I was born.
mhm.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of STEM, a
Yeah.
lot of STEM.
A lot of
But this is also coming from Egypt, where you're successful when you're a doctor and engineer.
True. That's you're right. That's what they consider success, I think, over there at
Yep.
times. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Now, are
Yeah.
your children, are they in science as well, or
Oh, so my daughter is an attorney.
okay.
She works for the Transgender Law Center in I always forget it, whether it's actually in Oakland or in Berkeley, but it's somewhere between those two. I think maybe Oakland.
Oh, wow.
And my son he's in college right now. He's majoring in computer science.
Oh,
So we have
nice.
one more STEM, but one social sciences
Well,
ish.
that's cool. Well,
What about
obviously,
you guys? What were your degrees in?
mine's in management information systems, so IT.
Okay.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
I am a licensed real estate broker, so that's what I do
Yeah,
for money, I guess it is. This
Yeah.
is fun. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
This is
that's important. I mean, you basically get people homes. I mean, that's
yes,
what could be more important than that, right?
exactly. Everyone
exactly.
needs and deserves a place to live, so we can do what we
Exactly.
can in a hard market for that. But yes.
That's great. Thank you for your
Oh,
service.
thank you.
Mhm. Oh, yes. Yeah, we need real estate agents all the time and brokers and oh gosh. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so I've been wondering, and I always ask all of our seventh row members, how in the world did they get involved? How did you get involved in the seventh row? How did you find out about it?
Seventh Rule. Oh, so I watched actually the very first episode of Seventh Rule as it aired on Odyssey Radio thing. Mostly I had already met Aaron Eisenberg before, and I actually was on the podcast he had before that with Garrett Wong, the Alpha Quadrant. So they had me as a guest on one of their first episodes. So and we were friends too, Aaron and Garrett and I. So I followed that all along, and then they decided they weren't going to continue that podcast, and I heard that he was going to start one with Ciroc. It's like, oh my gosh! I remember texting him like, I can't wait to see your podcast, and then watching as it first came out. So I wasn't a regular watcher, but I was sporadic early on. But at the at the Vegas convention in 2019, I talked to Aaron. He said, "Oh, well, we have to get you on the Seventh Rule sometime." I was like, "Oh, that'll be a lot of fun." Tragically, he passed away the next month, so that didn't come to pass. But then I'm not sure actually what exactly transpired. Maybe they asked for community input. I can't remember how I got connected. I met Ciroc, but super briefly, so I'm sure he wouldn't have remembered me. And I don't think I had met Ryan, or if I had again, it would have been super briefly. But somehow in the reminiscences for Aaron Eisenberg, they invited me over once, and we had a super fun chat. I mean, you know how Ciroc and Ryan are like. So they're so excited about science and excited to talk about connections to Star Trek and things like that. So we had a great chat, and then they just invited me back as a regular guest for one of their discussions of Deep Space Nine the next year. And that was the point in time where I learned about the live chat and things like that. I remember I was very confused with the free for all concept. Like, what is this thing? Why are people just staying on and randomly chatting afterwards? I mean, I liked it, but I didn't quite understand what was supposed to happen. But when I saw actually the live chat and the chat pack and things like that, I was sold. And that's when I actually became a Patreon for them and stuff like that. And I've been, an associate producer for many years now. So I always loved that podcast so much. I love the community that it's built. I love the hosts. I love everything about it.
Well, yeah, and that's how I met how I met all of you, both
Mhm.
of you, is through this channel,
Yeah.
as becoming an
Yep.
associate producer, and, it's hard the first time. Oh gosh, I still don't like to watch my very first one. It's it's rough, but I enjoy it, the community, because like you said, chat pack, we're all there. I mean, you see almost always the same names, Chuck, Mark, Dave, Bob D. I mean,
Gregory.
Linda.
Linda,
Yeah.
all of us, we're
Yeah.
all there. I mean, even tonight at 8 o'clock, we have the full episode review. I don't know which one it is, but it comes out tonight. But yeah, I was just curious. I was like, because I found out, I'm trying to remember, I found out through it, like just randomly, I think through being on the decon chamber and some other stuff. And
Mhm.
I decided, oh, what the hell, I'll join. And
It's well worth it.
oh,
Very
it
well
has
worth it.
been
Agreed.
very, very,
Agreed.
very well worth it. So I that
And it's so fun after that when you get to like go to conventions. It's like, there's Allison Leash Hyde in person. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I just
It's so fun.
felt like I should walk around with, like, a little box so people
Yeah.
recognize me, this little Zoom box, but,
That
not a
would be
boom box,
hilarious.
Zoom box.
That would be hilarious. Yep.
that's your cosplay.
Yes,
There
there you
you go.
go. I have so
Yeah.
many uniforms. I just got a bunch of new uniforms, so
Oh,
Oh no.
have to ask about that later.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna jump around a bit. So this lovely book here, I have enjoyed immensely, and I want to talk about how did you pick each episode as examples for this? Because let's just start with chapter one. You know, we're deciding what life is, and I first went, "Oh, we're going to talk about home soil." That was not the first episode you talked about. You talked about quality of life. And I'm
Yeah.
like, did you do that on purpose? Like for all of us fans who are like, oh, he's going to talk about this episode. You're like, no, no, no. I'm going to use this one first. I will talk about home soil. I promise. Like, so every time I was just like, oh, ooh, are we talking about this one? And then no, we talk about something else. Like, um, the trouble with tribbles. There we go. I was like, this is where we're going to start with reproduction. I'm like, okay, sweet. So I love the episodes that you picked as examples. So what was that like? Did you
Sure,
were you
sure. That's a great question. I mean, that book's been out for 7 years. Nobody's ever asked me that question. That's great. I love it. So, well, in terms of just process wise, when I first got the contract for doing the book, 'cause actually, I should mention just what the process or why that came about. Princeton University Press reached out to me and said, would you be willing to give a public talk at Princeton University and write a book associated with the same topic? And the public talk I was giving most often at that point in time was a general, like, why evolution is true talk. My former PhD advisor actually wrote a book called, quote, Why Evolution is True. And that was the basis for the talk I was usually giving. So like, that book already exists. We don't need another one. It's actually really good. I recommend it to anybody who's interested. So she said, well, is there any other public talk you're giving? And this was right before I started giving talks at conventions. And I just prepped one. I was like, I have an idea. It's a little outside the norm for Princeton University Press. And she went for it. And I said, basically, it's my introduction to genetics and evolution class from Duke that I use for majors, but just at a slightly lighter level, but using examples from Star Trek. So to your question, Allison, what I did is I spent about a year going through literally every episode that existed up until that point. So this was back when there was like 800 or so episodes. So every night I would go through the script of one or two episodes and watch one episode
Mhm.
of all the series in order. Started at TOS and just went through. And I had this giant spreadsheet where all the rows were every episode and the columns were
Wow.
the chapters of the book. And I would just put, if there's a note like, oh, this has something relevant for this. Oh, this has something
Wow.
relevant for that.
Cool.
Which often like that, the vast majority had nothing relevant for anything.
Mhm.
But I went through it. But I wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. I
Mhm.
was very nervous that there would be a really good example, and I just would have jumped right over it and not even seen it. So that was the way I got the big thing. So then in terms of deciding so in the book, in each chapter, as you mentioned, at the start of each section, there's a detailed thing from one episode, and there's a couple of like random mentions in there and later in each section for other episodes that also talk about it. I tried to just space them out a little bit because I didn't want it all to be TNG, for example. I wanted to have a little bit of Deep Space Nine, a little bit of Enterprise, a little bit of Voyager, a little bit of original series, something like that. So I tried to vary out the examples there. And then the one within a particular series I pick is just the one I thought had the best case for exactly the point I was trying to make.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, no.
yeah, there's a lot of layers to that question.
Yes. Well, and I you can tell when you go through the book because you're like, oh, like because I mean, the show is written by writers, and writers aren't scientists. So they have an idea of something they've heard and they want to use it, and then seeing where this is quite correct, this is a little bit correct, this has you're on the right path, and some of it is complete science fiction, which it should be. It is science fiction. So having it all together and then seeing the examples you pick out of like this is where this is really good for this specific scientific example is really cool because I'm sure writers actually love it when they're like, "Hey, I did a good job on
Yeah.
just in my imagination." So
No, this is great. And I love every point that you said there. So, in terms of those things, if there was a great example I put in there, even if there was a bad example, but it reflects a common misunderstanding, I still took that as useful. Like it's instructive in that sense of, oh, people tend to think that this means that. But in fact, it actually means something completely different. And then at the very end, you may remember after the 6 chapters, I had this sort of appendix of gems and coals. Those were just fun examples, but they didn't quite fit with the flow.
yeah,
So that's sort of the hodgepodge section I just tossed them at the end. I will say actually there is one case. There's one of the writers for Discovery actually does have a PhD in molecular biology. So
Wow.
it's not common, but there are some out there who actually are hardcore scientists as well. And even if you go back to say the Deep Space Nine Voyager era, Andre Bormanis, I mean, was the science consultant at the time. And he did what he could in the sense. I mean, there was no internet at that time, so he would look things up in the library. He would call colleagues and things like that. There was a fair amount of research that went into there. But as you said, your point is well taken. This is science fiction. So if somebody has to have a cold ray, and then somebody says, "Well, there's no way to make a cold ray." Well, we're gonna have a cold ray anyway because that's what the story needs. Okay.
yes, I do think that's one thing about science fiction as a genre. A lot of people have a hard time with is that like we're telling a story. It's still a vehicle to tell a story. So our science can be close, non-existent, and it's all good for the flow of the story and for as we have noticed with Star Trek, we have science fiction that we've made in the 60s that, kids grew up with and went, "I wanna make that science fact." And so that's really
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah, and the writers are very acutely aware of how many people are inspired by it, and that's why they want the science to be as right as possible. And they're very keen on that, and very keen on if we can make it right, let's just make it right. They're not going to make it wrong. I feel bad because I always in the reason I always make fun of the same show, but I always make fun of the Flash. I love the Flash. It's a fun show,
Yeah.
It
but
is.
like it's like they don't even try. It's like we're just going to do this thing. We're fine. I mean,
It's
it's more. I call that more
fun.
fantasy. It's
Yes.
fine,
Yeah. Well, and
but
that's what makes Star Trek so great is that they actually have tried to,
they do.
you know, get it right as much as they can. Obviously for the
And
story.
sometimes really well too.
Yeah.
Sometimes
uh,
really
And but for the story, sometimes they just have to have all the techno babble. But when we were talking with David Livingston not too long ago, some stuff we asked, asked him something about, technology and, you know, we really do have some of the technology like this, like my phone right
well.
here. I mean,
Our
it,
communicator/tricorders,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
pads, I should
yep,
say.
Hmm.
yeah,
No, it's crazy. And that's on the technical side. And then like in your field with the biology, it's, it's had to lead, science, some of y'all to research and find things that maybe would have never, you know, sparked an interest until they actually saw it. I'm like, let's see if we can figure out how to do this.
yes.
Eh,
Agreed,
Yeah,
agreed. Well said.
yeah, especially on the medical side of things. The episode on TNG. I still remember it when they wake up the three people from cryo stations from the 1990s or whatever, and Dr. Crusher's like, well, this one had like cirrhosis of the liver. I cured that. This one had cancer. Cured that. And it's just you know. It's because of that. This series, I think we really have advanced some of our science because of it.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Definitely inspired a lot of people to go into this.
Absolutely. So, kind of leading into the papers and scientific that they just went completely off the rails.
Yeah.
Talk about the episode Threshold.
Ah, threshold.
Yes,
So
and there was some paper um
yeah, there was.
called, if I can get it right, the rapid the rapid genetic and developmental morphological change following extreme celerity. Whew.
Yes. So what does that mean? That means rapid, or obviously rapid change you can figure out, of course.
Yes.
And so in development and morphological, meaning like in form, following extreme celerity, following going very fast. I think that was the episode of the threshold, as you said. So in that episode, what happens? Tom Paris goes to warp 10, which basically means he is essentially everywhere. Actually, I asked my friend Dr. Erin McDonald, who's like the science consultant for the whole franchise, and she said that in principle is kind of correct. Like, oh, I didn't know. I just thought they made that up. But she said, no, in principle, that actually would be true. Um, the fascinating thing about that is he goes very fast and all of a sudden he starts evolving, quote unquote. So, which I should point out right off the bat, individuals don't evolve, individuals develop.
Yes.
Like, I did not evolve from a baby. I just developed
Mhm.
from being a baby. So if I change, then it's still not evolution. Populations evolve, species evolve, not individuals. But anyway, setting that aside, that's neither here nor there. We saw this rapid change into a salamander, and there was a lot of questions about this at the time, but somebody, don't know who it was, like around 2018, who apparently was going at the time, this is before my podcast, at the time was going under the moniker BioTrekkie. Don't know who that could have been. Sent a paper to what's referred to as a predatory scientific journal. So these are normally for scientific journal, like you do your scientific experiments, you write up the results, you send it to a scientific journal. They then have experts peer review it and say like, okay, this makes sense, this isn't clear, this wasn't done well, and there's this process back and forth until it's good, and then they publish it. Predatory scientific journals basically like pay to play. You give them some money, they just publish it. Apparently this BioTrekkie person like went to one and they said send us $500 and it's in. And apparently that person bargained and said, how about 50? And they were like, okay.
Oh my god. Wow.
And apparently there were reviews, but it was just like fixing typos. But if you read the paper, every citation in that paper is actually a real citation except one. There's one fictional citation, but every other citation in there it's setting up the stage for everything in the context of we don't really know what happens when individuals go fast, and we're looking at different cases of rapid change in general. If you go through the methods, it basically just recounts in science speak all the scenes in Threshold, just almost scene by scene, as you go through it, but just in very heavy science speak, and then the results again recounting the observations that happened there. And essentially, in that, supposedly there were two human subjects because this was a replicated experiment.
True.
This was done. There was rapid change, and they produced
Yep.
babies and all sorts of fun.
That's funny.
Yeah, it got published, and it was interesting because then it got a fair bit of publicity right after that. It still every now and then pops back up in Reddit or something like that.
Yeah,
But
I'm not
let
gonna
me just
lie.
say that that journal took it down pretty quick after
I've tried
that.
finding it, but I couldn't find it
Oh,
actually.
Oh,
I
I can
found
send you a
it.
copy. I have it downloaded.
I could
Yeah,
not
Oh, you
find it.
found it?
yeah.
Okay.
I got it super quick. Yeah,
All
that
right.
was no at least I assume I found it.
Well, I found a lot of, it's like space.com and
References.
references to it, but I just didn't either I didn't want to click it or I just wasn't sure. So, but I definitely found the title. And
Happy to send you the paper if you want.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
Um, that
I
was good.
love who it was written by. That I think
Oh yeah, who are the authors?
we have Thomas Paris, Harry Kim, Belana Torres, Kess Ocampa, Catherine Janeway, and Astric Lewis Zimmerman. And I think that's my favorite part.
Louis Zimmerman.
Oh,
And I believe his affiliation with Starfleet Academy, if you look at where he's stationed.
Yes, yes,
oh,
exactly. And then there's a little shout out at the end to and acknowledgments to B. Braga for helpful insights. I thought was also quite fabulous.
hmm. Well, what was it? I heard you, was it you or someone I heard talk about a podcast that they said that, that was, oh, was it something that was like a Brandon Braga, um, sweat?
Fever Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard somebody say that too. That was a fever dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fever dream. I don't know. I it's an episode I don't mind the episode at all.
Oh, it's
It's a
fine.
fine
It's
episode,
fine.
and, even when you talk to Robbie, because 'cause I've asked him a couple times on some of
Oh, he likes it.
our
Yeah.
Delta Flyer, Zooms, and he's like, it's fine."
Yeah.
He doesn't care per se on that, but
Yeah.
He
he's
had to have a ball making it though, because he got to ham up the screen, wear some ridiculous makeup, and do things he normally didn't get to do, so it at least had to be an entertaining week or 8 days of filming.
pro
And they leaned in on the fiction side there on the science side, but like whatever, it's fine. And honestly, there's still a fair bit of science in there.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, there's a funny thing in that paper I forgot to mention that one of the things they mentioned in there is they're analyzing the data. They use something called Picard tools to analyze the genetics for it. But that actually is a real thing. That's actually what it's called. It's called Picard tools. That's what you would use to analyze that sort of data. And it was named after Jean-Luc.
Really?
Fair.
There's a lot of biologists who are big Star Trek fans.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
Oh, yeah. I have definitely seen that there are it's so fun to see where Star Trek fans are. We're not just in sciences. We're a lot in production and teaching. So many teachers are Star Trek geeks. And just seeing how we have spread out into the world and bring our Star Trek love and then all coalesce on.
I know a lot of people, so I do this as well, but I know a lot of people who use Star Trek in the classroom too, where they're looking for, a good ethical debate question or a good biology question or a good physics question. Very often people will bring Star Trek into the classroom. So the book that I wrote, for example, I use it for a non-majors course at Duke, and I've taught it multiple times. And it's really fun because I mean, what we'll do is we'll sit there and watch like a piece of Star Trek episode and we'll discuss it. And it's so nice to have a narrative instead of just, words on the chalkboard or whiteboard or whatever. So people are definitely much more engaged that way. And especially the final projects for the class I do, I have them do something creative that teaches a lot of the concepts that we did in class. And oh my gosh, they come back with these amazing like raps or here's a filmed scene of a Star Trek episode or something like that. They put so much energy into it as opposed to like the classic essay report,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. You get to play in Star Trek. So,
Exactly.
and
Exactly. And if you can have fun while you're learning, all the better. You're going to
that
retain it
is
that much
how
better.
we first learn is through play. Why would we have to give that up?
Brilliant point. Love it, Allison.
Okay. So, how did you become a scientific advisor for Star Trek?
Alumni connection.
Simple.
Yeah, so what happened, I was at a convention this was also actually, I think was it the same convention? It may have been the same convention, the 2018 Dragon Con, it may be the same one.
It's a busy convention.
I can't Yeah, I know, right? It must have been that one. I was thinking it couldn't have been 2019. But, at that convention, I was giving a talk with Dr. Aaron McDonald, who also was not yet a science advisor for Star Trek.
Really?
We already knew each other before this. That was the funny thing about it, but we were giving a talk about science and Star Trek Discovery. But then 3 people came and sat in the back of the room. It was Mary Chieffo, Ken Mitchell, and Jane Brooke.
Hey,
They watched the talk. What's that?
that's how you met Jane Brooke?
Yeah. At the end of the talk then, she came up to say hi because she said, "Hey, I actually went to Duke University." It's like, "Oh my gosh." And of course, I totally knew who she was. So, we got to corresponding, and I actually brought her out to speak to the class I was just talking about that uses the book that you held up earlier and things like that. But she really liked the book. She had actually gone through and put notes all through the whole book. And she asked, "Have you ever thought about consulting?" I said, "I would love to. And I've actually tried reaching out, but I don't really know, who to reach out to." She said, "Let me connect you with," I think it was Erica Lippold, who's the one I mentioned has a molecular biology degree. So she connected me with Erica. I had a great chat with Erica. Erica connected me to Michelle Paradise, who's the showrunner. I had a great chat with her. And then I think it was in March 2019. I think it was. I think that's right. I think it was March 2019. I got a call from Michelle Paradise saying, "We'd like to help you. We'd like to have you come and help us with this, with a couple of arcs associated with season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. We're going to pair you with this physicist we just met. Her name's Dr. Erin McDonald."
You're like, wonderful.
I know. I was like, "Oh, I've got her cell number right here. I'll text her."
Don't even have to pass contact information. We've got it
Nope,
down.
nope. That was fantastic. Yeah. And then she, of course, I mean, at that time we were both kind of consulting like just from the outside. She then leveled up and she actually got hired for the whole franchise and went on retainer and stuff like that. Whereas, I'm sticking with my main job over here.
Seems fair. So of the episodes that you have advised on that have aired and you can talk
Yeah,
about, which was
sure.
your favorite like science you
Oh,
got to advise on?
oh, definitely the chemical communication with species 10C. Oh, that was so much fun. So we started that in, I think it was May 2020. We started first talking about it. So this was just shortly after things had shut down. But we had like iterative conversations where they said we want to have truly alien aliens. We want the conversation not to be able to be translated by a universal translator. We want to have iterations, and there were side talks at the same time because we were talking about that, but also talking about the I forget what the thing was called. The thing was destroying all the planets. I forget what that was called.
Oh,
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 uh,
oh, the one it
I'll
yeah,
look it up.
Yeah, that's okay. Anyway, I
the
can't
big
remember what that
black
was called,
hole.
but
Yeah.
Yes.
exactly. But they were calling it the space Roomba
Yes.
discussion. They actually leaned in more heavily for the Roomba thing. So I was just kind of in the background, just tossing out ideas in terms of how the communication might work. But it was really fun then when finally we settled on chemical communication, and I said, well, let's do it with hydrocarbons. So we got to work on some of the text, got to work with the VFX people. It was what I liked about that was it was very comprehensive. And then also got paired towards the end. Actually, Anson Mount connected them with some folks from METI, the Messaging Extraterrestrial Intelligence thing. So these are these people who are linguists, so I got to work with them where I was doing the more of the heavy biology side. They were doing the linguistics of how you would translate these hydrocarbons into a full language and stuff like that. So it was very, very interdisciplinary in a great way. It's like VFX people and linguists and biologists and physicists. It was so much fun.
Yes.
So it kind of peaked in episode. It wasn't just one episode. I guess that was kind of a little bit of an arc on episodes like 11 to 13
Mhm.
and Discovery season 4 for that. Yeah, but it was
Wow.
interesting because the timing was very long. So we started in May 2020. I think the episodes didn't come out till late 2022. So there's often a long lead time for these things. It's not right away.
Mhm.
It was called the
No.
DMA,
Yes.
DMA, that's right. Exactly. Dark matter anomaly. Is
something
that
like
right? I
that.
think that's
Yeah.
what it's. That's
Wow.
right.
I didn't know y'all got that intricate.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that you don't actually see in the end. So, for example, there was a lot of things where somebody's pop-up screen has all this stuff, and we have very detailed things about what's on that pop-up screen. And what you see on the episode is like it's way in the background and kind of blurry, and you can't see it because it's not focused on that. So there's more detail than is even apparent in the show that is precisely made.
Mhm. No, that's so cool because it just well, it gives the actors, just a little bit more that they don't
Yeah,
have to come up with in their mind, you know?
yeah,
So it
yeah.
gives them just a little bit more information to hold in a scene. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's oh my gosh, it's such an honor and so much fun, and the writers are really into it too. They're excited to hear about how the science would be. And one important thing is for a lot of the science, like I might give a very detailed explanation, but in the show it has to be like 1 to 2 lines of text tops, right? And then preferably even less than that, preferably just a couple of words because people don't want to hear a seminar on biology. They just want to hear
I
like,
mean, some people
oh,
do, but we
You
don't
might.
have time in an episode. So,
Yes.
we don't have time in an episode. It's all about like let's keep it moving. Let's keep everybody excited. Let's keep everybody interested. So it can't be super detailed. But for something like I guess for in season 3 when we did the burn, what Aaron McDonald and I did is we actually wrote up an article with StarTrek.com that filled in all the gaps because it was so short. I was like, I don't think people fully understood what happened there. Like they had a general sense and like, okay, I guess that's it. But we could fill in all the details and say like, what's the real science behind that in an article on StarTrek.com.
Oh,
So that's a
wow.
nice way of filling it in that sense.
so
Y-
cool.
That is so
Yeah,
cool. And especially,
but it was really fun. Oh, I'm sorry.
well, no, I was to say because I didn't know about that article because that was kind of one of the semi complaints was they wrapped up how that happened so quickly. It was just what Kelpian, that young Kelpian, when he
Mhm.
got mad,
Exactly. Sukal. Yeah,
and he got mad, and there went the animator and stuff. And so, but that was one that I did not. So that's good to know that you wouldn't actually filled in everything else that they had. Obviously, for time constraints, they just can't go that
exactly.
deep detail.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So what we did then for seasons 3 and 4 and 5 actually for Discovery, I didn't actually consult on season 5 of Discovery, but, I still enjoyed it. But, Jane Brooke and I then did, episode discussions for those too. So that was really fun then because she knew the actors and the craft of the acting and production, things like that. So she would talk about that aspect, whereas I talk about the science, some of which I contributed for season 3 and 4. Season 5 I didn't, but there's still a lot of good science in there nonetheless. So
Yes, that was BioTrekkie Explains, and it was a ton of fun. And since you mentioned it, I'm gonna jump ahead to my last question, is are we gonna get more BioTrekkie Explains this season with Strange New Worlds, especially since you advised on things?
I don't know yet. I've not planned any yet. But we'll see. You never know.
I have my fingers crossed for more BioTrekkie Explains
Oh,
hits.
you're very kind. Thank
Hmm.
you.
So,
I mean, one of the challenging things with Biotrek Explains is I do all the production for it, so it's a lot.
oh yeah.
As someone who does no production other than sitting in this chair and talking into my screen, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not,
I joke it's probably about 40 minutes for the Biotricky episodes, since those are not like just me talking, right? It's a lot of animated stuff. It's probably about 40 minutes to an hour for every minute you see on the screen.
uh-huh. I know. I could sit
Yeah.
here, and even though editor plus producer, he does the initial edits, even after him, I get them back, and I can still spend, 30 minutes working on a minute or something, just trying to get it just right. Oh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, I feel your pain big time.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I'm gonna kind of wrap this question into two is or into one. Is like, what was your first convention experience, and are
Oh,
you gonna be at STLV this year doing some
sure. So
panels?
I'll answer both. Sure. So the first convention experience I ever attended was Dragon Con in 2014. So I was definitely jumping in at the deep end.
Yeah.
Dragon Con with like at the time probably like 60 or 70,000 people. It was great. I mean, I got a photo up with Patrick Stewart,
Oh
stuff
man.
like that. I was like diving in at the deep end there. Actually, I got a great one with Jerry Ryan and Garrett Wong. This is before I knew Garrett. Obviously, I mean, I just met him for the first time at that convention. But I got Jerry Ryan to wear this glove with these little tubes coming out of it, pretend like she was assimilating me. But it was really fun. I mean, just hearing all the panels and things like that. And then what actually inspired me at that is one of my colleagues from here at Duke. His name is Professor Eric Spana. He actually gave a talk on the genetics of wizarding using examples from Harry Potter. He gave another talk on biology using like Mass Effect, the video game, things like that. So I saw that and I was like, oh, this sounds great. So Garrett actually weirdly happened to come through town the next year. I think he was me like a fraternity brother or something. I forget. There was some weird like college connection or something like that. So I messaged him. We actually met up for dinner, and I said, "Hey, is there any chance I could do that at Dragon Con? Give one of those talks." He said, "Yeah, we're always looking for more content like that." So I asked him if I could give such a talk, and then 2016 in Dragon Con is the first time I actually gave a talk at a convention.
Wow.
Cool.
That was my first convention experience. So to your second question about am I going to the Trek to Las Vegas, as the new name is,
Yeah.
I am planning to go. I've got my tickets, and I'm giving one talk for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm
It's gonna be a
going.
heavier. It's gonna be a new talk. It's gonna be a heavier on the science, a little bit lighter on the Trek. So I'm curious to see how that would go over. We'll see.
I'm excited.
Oh,
Oh
you're
yeah.
very kind. I always appreciate
Well,
you.
this is my first time to go to STLV, so
Oh,
yeah, I I gave in. Lots of peer pressure. I finally gave in. Um,
TJ and I were heavy-handed on the peer pressure.
uh,
gotta love TJ Jackson Bay from Missouri.
That's right.
yes. Oh, TJ. So, well, actually, we all worked together last night doing a recording.
Oh,
But yeah, well, that's good. I'm looking forward to coming out there and seeing yours and everybody else this year. Um, and I've never been to Dragon Con, but oh my God, yeah, I've heard how huge that is. No, I don't.
it's big.
I Yeah, I'll stick to Trek to
Well, the
Vegas.
great thing with that is Garrett runs the Trek track at
Mhm.
Dragon Con. So
Yeah.
if you already have like a built-in strong Trek connection in there with Garrett, running that track.
Hmm.
He's been doing it voluntarily too, so that's really special.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
it's in September. August is too
It's always Labor Day weekend. Yeah.
yeah. Not this year. Maybe next year. if I want to be around that many. That's a lot of people in one spot. Eh, Oh well. So I've got my, standard issue last question, and that is, what Star Trek technology do you wish existed today?
I mean, personally, I would love to have a replicator. I think that would be fantastic. I would never trust a transporter. Those are definitely death machines. Like, definitely death machines. Nope, not touching that thing. But a replicator would be great. But I do worry if there was a replicate. If those were like common, I worry it would get really misused. I
Hmm.
can imagine a lot of bad things happening in the world. But just like if I could just hide one in my house,
Agreed.
I would love that.
They would have
Yeah.
to be very, very regulated, yes.
Yeah, right? I can imagine, yeah.
Clothing, food,
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. No weapons from this thing, you
Nothing.
know?
Yes.
school
Well,
supplies.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, think about that's why, I mean, I've said this before and I usually don't try to repeat, but look what happened, why the Kazon won at the replicator.
Mhm.
And that's why Captain Janeway was like, no, you are not getting one, because they would and they were going to use it for not such good things.
So true.
So true. Well, Mohammed, thank you for giving us your time today. I'm so glad we got to do this, and I am truly looking forward to actually to meeting, well, both of you finally in person
Yeah,
in August. So
it'll be
it
fun.
will be fun. So thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate your time.
Thank you both for having me. It was great to chat with you both.
You too.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mohammed.
Bye.
Thank you for watching The Transporter Room. For just $5 per month, enjoy ad-free access to this episode and all previous ones, plus exclusive bonus content. Sign up now on Patreon.